And like Mike Johnson also asks here, who do you think is going to be quarterback one moving forward? So I'll let you guys all give your takes right now. Who's going to be Florida State starting quarterback facing Wake Forest on Saturday night?
Hey guys, it's Terrence Mann. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by NoleGameday. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, a.k.a. P-Dub, in the house. We're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by NoleGameday. Go Live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by NoleGameday. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, presented to you by NoleGameday.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. FSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What's happening, guys? This is Logan from Hear the Spear, presented to you by NoleGameday. We have a stacked group with us tonight. Joining us, we have Austin Veazey. He's our pretty much our lead basketball guy at NoleGameday.com. Used to be, it's a mix of Dustin, right, Dustin? It's a mix of you and
I'm Austin. Giving Austin the keys to the kingdom.
Yes.
Definitely going to be there to be of assistance, but
with as much as he's written, I think so. But I want to introduce you guys to Austin. He is going to be covering basketball for us this year. He's already started off an incredible amount of content at NoleGameday.com. I don't know how many pieces now, but I know there's got to be close to 10,000 words freaking written.
More than that.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 12 or 13.
Yeah, it's incredible. But yeah, what's up, Austin?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Doing good. He also does do some football stuff for us too, so it's kind of all his main focus. So is basketball. Fisher's going to be joining us in a few. We're going to get to the football stuff a little bit. The main part we kind of want to go over first is the Scottie Barnes commitment, a 5-star, big time commitment for Florida State. We're going to go over that in a second. As always, guys, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, GooglePlay, Spotify. We're also on YouTube. We see a lot of subscriptions going on over there. I never knew people listened to podcasts on YouTube. I thought that was just only for video, but it's happening. Got a lot of our followers heading over there. So more the merrier. The easier we can get to your guys' phones or ears. Sounds weird, but whatever's easier for you guys. And if you're on iTunes, feel free to rate us 5 stars, leave a review. It always helps a lot. Helps us grow and get to more listeners. But I say we jump into it. We got a lot to talk about in this podcast. We're going to talk about Scottie Barnes, go over his commitment, what it means to Florida State, a big Leonard Hamilton pickup there. And then we're going to go over the Clemson game. Me and Dustin went over an instant reaction right after the game on Saturday night. But we're going to go ahead and have all of us. Yeah, that was fun. Make sure you guys go listen to that. We're going to talk about the Clemson game. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Jalen Ramsey's trade to the Rams, a decommitment Florida State had today, and recording this on Tuesday. And then we're going to go through a little bit of the Monday mailbag and some questions that we have there. And then at the very end, we'll go through a short kind of preview for the Wake Forest game and try to talk about some of the main concerns going into it and the biggest questions. So I say we jump right into it and get after it. So on Monday, Scottie Barnes committed to Florida State. A 5-star guy, extremely talented, which didn't it come out of nowhere, Austin?
Yeah, none of us were expecting this. I was expecting it closer to his buddy Jalen Green's decision on Christmas Day, but this came out of nowhere.
Christmas comes early.
Yeah.
It does. What is this like? Just give me your initial thoughts. I know you've probably watched some film on him, but what does this guy, to people who have not been able to, because I'm not crazy that big in the basketball, but it's starting to change, and I think that's happening for a lot of the fan base at Florida State. Leonard Hamilton is bringing a lot of attention to the program, But for fans, that might not be fully into it yet, what does this kind of guy bring to the table for Florida State basketball?
The first thing that stands out for him is how athletic and how much he's willing to commit to the defensive end. Usually with top 10 prospects, you're expecting them to put up 30, 35 points a game in high school. He's putting up 15 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds. You don't see that from top 10 players, but he's such a great defender. He's going to slide in perfectly at point guard.
Yeah, I mean, just adding to his point, he's a twitchy athlete, can throw down some crazy dunks, and, paired with a potential Malachi Wideman on the court, Florida State is going to be throwing down some slams out there. And obviously there's countless other guys across the roster that have some hops as well. But, I mean, really the main thing about Scottie is I want to see him take the next step, and that's just knocking down the deep ball at a little bit of a higher clip. Right now he shoots at about 35%. He can push it up there to that 38, 39%, maybe even 40%. That would just take his game to a whole nother level.
And going off of that, not even just percentage, just taking it more. In 20 games with USA Basketball, he only took 9 threes. If he can take 1 a game, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And what y'all were talking about, too, with a lot of dunks and also talking about Malachi Wideman, I've watched enough on him, and we posted enough clips of him, too, on our Instagram page. That dude's wild, but just thinking about how much of the audience that it will bring to the Tucker Center. I mean, you're bringing in guys that put on a show. It's kind of been a show a little bit, too, for the last couple of years. I mean, to me, it's extremely fun. It was fun watching Terrence Mann and Kabengele play, but watching Terrence Mann give it up to Kumaji at least felt like 5 times a game was entertaining to me. But what going into, like we talked about before recording this, but to you guys, what's the biggest? Is this one of the biggest commits since who?
It's the second highest rated commit since John Isaac, but John Isaac didn't have the connections to the Jalen Green type players, so you could argue it's the biggest commitment as of now in Florida State's history.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with Austin there. Really, the only commit that I could think of that was kind of on this level was maybe Dwayne Bacon when he came out of Oak Hill. I mean, I know that was a really exciting time for the Florida State basketball program, and obviously bringing in Barnes opens up even more doors than what Bacon opened.
And Jalen Green, I know you talked about it there, Austin, for a second, but Jalen Green is close with Scottie Barnes. And what is he, number 3 player in the 2020 class, if I'm correct?
Correct.
Okay. And, what's, now that's the speculation, the hope now for FSU fans. I'm sure the staff, could Barnes be able to bring Green with him to Tallahassee? You think that's actually a possibility, Austin?
It's certainly possible, and the fact that Oregon's flying out an assistant coach, I think either today or tomorrow, to see him, that only heightens expectations. I still think it's not very likely he comes to Florida State.
Let's look ahead a little bit, too, to the 2020 season with him and guys that are also coming in with him. Dustin, I know we were talking about it before the pod. We talked a lot about it before we started recording, but the excitement that season is going to bring alone. Not only, coming into this season, but 2020 could be pretty special for Florida State and Leonard Hamilton.
Yeah, obviously it's looking like Florida State is going to bring in a excellent 2020 recruiting class headlined by Barnes. And you've still got guys who are going to return on Florida State's current roster. MJ Walker's only a junior. Devin Vassell's a sophomore. You've got a couple of talented freshmen. Obviously, there's potential for Patrick Williams to potentially go pro after this year, but Raekwon Gray, Malik Osborne, Anthony Polite, a lot of these guys are going to be back next year, and that just shows the type of program that Coach Hamilton has built. Year in and year out, you have experienced veterans to fill in alongside the couple of talented freshmen that come in.
Any notes, any take on that, Austin?
No, you hit the nail on the head. That 2020-2021 team's looking like arguably the deepest team Florida State's had. You bring in Sarter Calhoun, who's one of the best shooters in the JUCO ranks, plus Malachi Wideman, plus Zimafe. He reclassified for this class. He's coming in. So that team's going to be unbelievably deep.
Seems like a lot of potential for a very switchable defense. A lot of guys that can guard multiple positions.
Absolutely.
So a week from today, Florida State is going to pretty much start their season. They got their first exhibition game against Barry University. Dustin wanted me to let all the podcast listeners know this is where he got one of his, what was it, an offer?
I got like a recruiting letter.
Okay, so Dustin wanted me to let everybody know that he got a recruiting letter from Barry University. But
thanks for putting that out there.
No problem at all. But yeah, Florida State will play their first exhibition game against them. Austin, just tell me what you've been hearing, kind of, and what you kind of expect. We're going to go into a full preview, of course, once the season kind of starts kicking a little bit. But give me what you think, the feel is around this team, because there's some skilled guys that are coming back too. I've been high on Trent Forrest for a couple of years now. I'm very excited about him. We know what Vassell brings to the table. I think I'm interested to see how Gray comes through this year too. I think he's a big boy and he has some potential, and I liked how he was progressing throughout the end of the season. But just give me your thoughts and what you might be hearing right now, Austin, heading into that exhibition game.
First off, the defense is going to be off the chains. Ooh. Dealing with analytics that I've put in my articles the last few weeks, the guys that are coming back are studs defensively. Trent Forrest, Devin Vassell, Raekwon Gray, they're all at the top of last year's team in terms of defensive plus minus, how they're impacting the box score, how they're getting steals, blocks, turnovers, etc. So defensively, this team is going to be unbelievable. And then offensively, you're replacing Terrence Mann and Fiondu Kabengele and Phil Kofor, but you're replacing those guys with even better shooters, and even better shooters are going to open up the floor even more. So it's going to be a more consistent offense and an unbelievable defense, arguably the best we've had since Bernard James left.
Wow. Dustin, any thoughts from your your end?
Yeah, I mean, like Austin said, there's a lot to be excited about with this team heading into the season. Really, the main worry for me is just that big man rotation. Obviously, you brought in Dominic O in the offseason. Honestly, I cannot pronounce his last name. Austin, do you know it? You know how to pronounce it?
Olejniczak, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, and also you bring in Balsa Koprivica, true freshman center. So really, those are your two centers this season. Obviously, you've got Malik Osborne, who can probably flex between that 4 and 5 spot a little bit, and I'm excited to see how those bigs progress, because we don't really know a lot about them.
And shout out to my guy Harrison Prieto. He's a walk-on, but I'm expecting him to get some minutes. He got some minutes last year against Tulane and someone else, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in if Dominic and Balsa get into foul trouble.
He looked good last year. I remember going to the Georgia Tech game and Harrison throwing down a dunk. So
yeah, he got a dunk at the end of the game.
What about Patrick Williams?
Man, he's special. Everything I've been hearing.
I just didn't hear his name tonight because I see him around campus. I just want to hear some stuff about him.
Everything I've been hearing about him is special. His ability to score from all three levels, his length. He's going to be he's a perfect player for Coach Hamilton's system. If Coach Hamilton could build a player, it's Patrick Williams.
Mm.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mentioned Dwayne Bacon earlier. I think Patrick Williams is a player sort of similar in that kind of mold, except he brings more on the defensive end than Bacon did.
And I think he's a better three-point shooter than Bacon was, at least at this stage in their careers.
Mm-hmm. Well, shoot, as you could tell, I think we might have a lot of basketball content coming to you guys from Here the Spear. Once that starts, yes, we will. We'll do more than we ever have before. That kind of goes the same with baseball. We're going to try to hit a lot of the other sports other than football, because I know there's a lot of different fan bases for each. But basketball should still be exciting to watch this season, and most certainly in the future and into 2022 with these cats. But now we will move on from that. I would also suggest, before moving on, I would definitely go check out Austin's pieces. You can find them at NoleGameday.com. If you want to just sit down and read, grab a coffee, grab food, make sure you sit down and you have time. The analysis And if you like statistics and all that kind of, if you like the nerdy stuff, the good meat in there, that is all him. He's put down a lot of great previews, and they're in different sections. And he gives you every angle of a good preview that you would need for Florida State basketball heading into the season. So definitely go check that out. He's been phenomenal so far, and he definitely deserves getting some more views on those. All right, well, now it's time we talk some Clemson. Can we let Fisher out of the cage? Is he allowed to come out? You there, Fisher?
Oh, just took a little nap.
Usually we don't let Mississippi people join the podcast, but we'll make an exception.
Jeez.
I just don't know what your issue is, man.
I just have to do it now. It's just
Dustin's going to end up getting his career job in Mississippi.
I hope you end up in Mississippi one day. Actually, I hope you do because it's a wonderful place. So if you do, it'd be great for you.
Wonderful's a stretch.
Now you got Austin.
Here we go.
Dang, Austin comes first time. Yeah.
Coming at my throat.
I like this guy.
All right, so Fisher's joining us. If you don't know, he is our lead graphic designer. He might know his graphics and everything, but he also knows his ball. He's been doing graphics for us for 4 years now, maybe more than that.
Well,
5, maybe 5. Yeah, I guess we started before the site was created, and that was 2014 when the site launched. So I think it was 2013, somewhere around there. But yeah, that's Fisher. Dustin's here with us, our lead writer, and also Austin, our lead guy covering basketball. And I'm Logan, and nothing too special. Nothing too special. So let's talk some Clemson stuff. So like I said, me and Dustin did an instant reaction. You guys can go listen to that. But now we can kind of sit back. We watched film. We've seen social media. We've heard the players talk afterwards. One thing that kind of, and I want to get y'all's thoughts too, and we'll bring it up, but it seems like the theme is that Florida State didn't quit, and they were playing their hardest, and they still got the living. I think we're gonna have to move this to explicit soon. I have to figure this out, but they got the living crap beat out of them. But y'all give me y'all's thoughts. I can start it with Fisher since he's fresh and ready to go after his nap. But what do you think about that game? Because it was not so special.
I just thought Florida State did not execute whatsoever, pretty much in any facet of the game on Saturday. It's pretty harsh, but FSU by far had their worst performance. Definitely on offense. Florida State only recorded 253 yards of total offense, 150 yards passing, and 103 rushing. Really just not a whole lot going for Florida State. They were 2 of 13 on third down, which is just miserable. And so really, frustrating to see the missed throws by Blackman and Hornibrook. I thought Florida State had at least 2 plays on the field that they left that were touchdowns. One being it was Hornibrook. Was it Trayshawn or was it Terry? Dustin, I remember we were talking about it.
I believe it was Trayshawn.
Was it Trayshawn? A throw. I think it might have resulted in a pick. Yeah, so that was down, and then Blackman missing Cam, where it looked like Cam, had just green grass ahead of him. So leaving plays out there, and it was clear to see that the guys were extremely frustrated, especially Blackman. Every drive you could just see the frustration coming off the sideline or running to the sideline, I should say.
Of course, I do think Florida State would have played a little bit better, maybe if there wasn't a bye week. I think they're doing good with their momentum, and it kind of died off, and we kind of were worried about that with the preview last week. But Clemson came into this game pissed off. We couldn't hear it enough from ESPN that they wanted to have as many points as they could on the board, and they wanted to make a statement. And it sucks that it's Florida State that gets them being pissed off and coming after. But I don't know. I feel like they are a ways behind Clemson. I just try to say stuff that's straight up. I don't want to BS anything. But, I mean, Florida State was playing second and third string guys, and that's how things started moving. And I didn't like how Kendall Briles was working that game whatsoever. When you're on third and second or even third and ones, and you're still throwing 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, I don't really understand. But yeah, y'all give me y'all's thoughts too. How far away is Florida State from Clemson right now?
Well, I believe Clemson has outscored Florida State 106-24 over the last 2 games that they played each other in. 59-10 and now 45-14. Wait, my math is off there. Not my major, so it doesn't matter. But either way, they've scored a lot. Florida State scored a little.
Yeah.
This rivalry's been trending in the wrong direction a little bit ever since those dominant Florida State teams in 2013 and 14. Florida State hasn't beat Clemson in since 2014. So, been 5 straight losses for Florida State. I think it's going to be at least another 3 before this rivalry starts getting competitive again. Like really, really competitive, close games that go down into the fourth quarter and aren't over right after the national anthem. But really, I mean, Florida State's got to fix its offensive line, which, we all know is easier said than done after what we saw last year and the incremental improvements we've seen this year. And then defensively, I really do think there's got to be a change coaching-wise for the defense to get where Willie Taggart wants it to go.
Yeah, I agree with Dustin. I think Florida State is 4 years behind Clemson. 4 years away from really competing with Clemson and it being a pretty evenly matched. All things considering, Clemson stays where they're at, and Florida State can kind of meet them. I think it would take 4 years to really catch up with Clemson at this point. You just simply don't have the players to match Clemson. It's not even a matter of Florida State they're playing poorly, but they just don't have the players, especially on the offensive line, to hold their own against Clemson. And it's just a matter of getting guys in the program and recruiting, and that's really the only way to turn it around at this point. And Clemson has really shown no sign of regression. Clemson has a lot of talent in the works. The recruiting class this year is unreal. It's insane how much talent they've got coming into Clemson. And as soon as Trevor Lawrence leaves, you got another 5-star stepping in at quarterback as well. So no sign of Clemson, and who knows, could be even more than 4 years, but definitely a ways away.
Yeah, I agree with you all. 4 or 5 years away. I think some people forget how long Dabo Swinney's been there and how long he's been able to build that program up. He's had time to bring in guys and bring in depth. It's going to take a while for Florida State to get anywhere close to that level.
Without a doubt.
So now this is going to remind fans of the Florida State-Miami rivalry in recent years, but the opposite way.
Yeah. Well, now I'm looking forward to having our Twitter be tweeted at us 20,000 times saying this was a depressing pod. I've seen a lot of podcasts get a lot of heat this week, but
there's nothing good to say.
Sometimes you got to have some kind of reality.
Nothing good to say.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I know. A lot of people want the niceness, but it's the absolute reality right now.
No sugar-coated, no rainbows, no lollipops over here.
Florida State tried their hardest, and they got absolutely just A lot of words could be said about it. Just save that for another time. When we have explicit Hear the Spear at night after dark is what we need to start. So Dustin can just unravel himself.
All right, Mom.
Yeah, Mom. Your mom listens to this. You better say hey to your mom.
Hey, Mom.
There we go.
How's it going?
All right. Let's see. So yeah, we have some Monday mailbag questions that kind of go back to this Clemson game. I think people have heard enough, seen enough, so we're not going to just keep beating a dead horse here. It's just a tough loss. It was even tougher than I think a lot of us thought it would be. We all thought Florida State would lose this game, but it was just really worse.
It was a slaughter.
Yeah. Kind of going with this now, and maybe we might see a trend. I don't know. It just depends on how good Willie Taggart is as a recruiter. But Florida State today, this is Tuesday, we're recording this, Florida State lost a commitment from a 4-star defensive back, Jalen Harrell. And tell me how big this is, Dustin, for Florida State, because, what has been going on lately. The trend for them is that they're able to keep these guys on board. That's not that great of a season, but they're able to keep them here, and that's something Willie Taggart is trying to, of course, keep that continuing thing going. But Jalen Harrell is a talented defensive back, and I know we put out multiple pieces about him, but just give me your thoughts, Dustin, on could this, the commitment here from Harrell start some kind of rolling factor into other guys decommitting?
I don't really think so. I think a lot of this Tribe 20 class, they're really close together. They're always talking in the group chat, and most of them are still supporting Florida State on Twitter and honoring their commitments. I think this was just a situation where, maybe Jalen Harrell wasn't comfortable after what he saw Saturday. This might have been a little bit more reactionary, maybe not. But at the end of this, I do think this could end up being a net positive for Florida State, not because Jalen Harrell isn't a good player, but the Seminoles brought in 6 defensive backs in the class of 2019. They still have 4 committed in the 2020 class, even with Harrell's decommitment. So maybe a loss like this with Harrell can lead to a gain on maybe the offensive line going forward. Maybe that opens up an extra scholarship for a talented offensive lineman, which honestly I think Florida State could use a little bit more than a cornerback right now.
Well, I say we jump into a little bit of the Monday mailbag. Dustin puts these out every week. We take questions from you guys through Instagram or Twitter. But I think we're going to try to introduce this kind of segment to the podcast every week. I think it's pretty interesting. We get some good questions from you guys and creates a good conversation. So we'll start off with number 1, which has also been a pretty hot topic this week, and let you guys just give your opinions on it if you want. If you want in on it, just speak away. But this comes from All Thrills from Instagram. He asks, does Jordan Travis get any reps this year? Don't be shy.
I'm going to say no, unless both Blackman and Hornibrook have injuries.
Do you think he gets a rep from like the Alabama State game? Like he might get
actually, yeah. No, I could. I mean, I was kind of thinking about like stepping in and actually playing. But if we're talking about just like garbage time, then I could easily see a situation where Florida State is up a lot, and definitely it can't hurt to throw him in there. So I mean, I could easily see that. But I mean, as far as like Jordan Travis taking meaningful snaps, no, I don't see that unless bad injuries fall upon Blackman or Hornibrook.
Yeah, I mean, what Fisher said, maybe Alabama State. Other than that, probably not.
No.
Yeah, and I'd agree with what's been said. I know a lot of fans want it, but a different quarterback doesn't always mean a better quarterback.
No, it's just bad quarterback play. It was also the worst play they've had all season, so I think it's a lot of talk. I do think maybe Alabama State, garbage time at the end. He might get some reps in there. But yeah, that was just a question about getting reps, not about starting. Let's go to this one, which is also a pretty interesting one. We're getting some good ones here. When will Jeff Sims play next year? So Jeff Sims is a 4-star quarterback. He's had an average season in high school right now. One thing that he's got to work on is accuracy. But you tell me, guys, will Jeff Sims play next year at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go kind of with what I already said in the mailbag, but I don't really think we're going to see Jeff Sims get a shot next year. He's a quarterback that really needs a development year. Needs to get his accuracy, his arm strength up a little bit. Also, his body is still developing, so kind of needs a year in that strength and conditioning program. The year Blackman didn't really get since he was thrust into action as a true freshman. But just thinking about the quarterback situation in 2020, you're going to have a redshirt junior in Blackman who's likely going to take another step forward, maybe even multiple steps forward this offseason. So I don't think we'll see Jeff Sims maybe in some mop-up duty.
Yeah, Jeff Sims is a player who, he's definitely talented, but I think he's not ready to be a collegiate starter as it is, and that's no knock on him. It's just not every high school quarterback is. Sorry, there's really weird sounds coming outside of my apartment. That was really scary. Anyway, sorry.
Mississippi. Yeah, Mississippi for you.
I don't know what is going on. It sounds like a pack of dogs is like barking. Like 20 dogs are just like barking their heads off. I don't know.
You might want to see what's going on out there.
Yeah,
that was really concerning. I'm gonna keep moving though. James Blackman is, still has 2 years of eligibility left. Could potentially be your starter in 2020 and 2021. And so, yeah, no.
I want to see one here, and that question came from oj.clout from Instagram.
OJ, you're finally free. Welcome to Twitter.
Welcome. Great job, Dustin, for putting that on all of us now. Great. Thanks a lot. I'm not Logan Robinson, by the way. Let's see. Let's get away from some quarterback talk here. I know I don't have this one on the draft for us, but we have a lot of quarterback questions. But when this comes from Landon Basketball 2, he asks, when do you think our football team will make the top 25? And just for this is what Dustin responded on the article. He said, it's going to be a minute. And that was all he gave. That's all he gave.
What else can you say? I mean,
no.
What's the guy want me to say? Maybe next preseason. But never know after week 1.
Well, after after what Corey Durden said, Florida State tweeted 9-3.
I don't really care what Corey Durden's tweeted.
Yeah.
He said delete that while he still can.
He told us 9-3 though.
Told who?
Told his followers. Told Nole Nation 9-3.
Well, unfollow him.
Can we get a checkup on Fisher if his legs aren't bit off yet? I'm kind of nervous. He's got his mic muted. He might be getting his arms and legs ripped off.
Oh Lord.
We're all right. It's all good, guys.
It didn't sound good.
Good. All right, good. That was Bones.
I think a couple of dogs got into a fight.
Dogs got the dog.
In the court.
I was about to say, it sounded like your bones are cracking. They really got your legs that time. All right, so let's go on to this one. We kind of talked about this one earlier. This is from Chosen None 224. He asked, "Is Willie Chosen One?" Okay, sorry, Chosen None. sorry, my bad. 11:30 at night. 11:30 at night.
I had that issue too. Sorry.
We talked about it before, and I think this is time where we kind of predict who we think will be the starting quarterback against Wake Forest, because we're about to jump into that preview. But is Willie Taggart going to continue rotating quarterbacks? And like Mike Johnson also asks here, who do you think is going to be quarterback one moving forward? So I'll let you guys all give your takes right now. Who's going to be Florida State starting quarterback facing Wake Forest on Saturday night?
Well, I'll make sure to let you guys know once we get to the Wake Forest preview. It's silent.
Oh, wow.
Such great analysis.
Wow. That's a basketball guy for you there.
Well, since I'm the other basketball guy, I'll say James Blackman, just to go away from Dustin. I think he's a better fit for what we're trying to do. And I think he's got the better arm talent. And both quarterbacks are average. Neither one's that much better than the other. So I'll stick with Blackman.
Yeah, I completely agree with Austin. It's not like Florida State is having some great season, and I mean, we saw on Saturday. I don't think there's a clear separation between either guy, and I think Blackman gives you your best chance to win, and he fits your system. And Hornibrook's going to be gone after this year, and Blackman's still going to be there. So Blackman's got to be your starter going forward.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure these guys didn't copy me. It's going to be Blackman. Ring the bell.
Unbelievable.
Unreal, Dustin. I knew that was coming too. I'm gonna go with Horny. No, I'm just kidding. We could think it though, and we said this about this coaching staff too. I don't know what to predict with them. I really don't. I do think of that your best chance to win and play better on offense is under Blackman. I think it was just a terrible weekend for both. I think it was a terrible just day for both players and coaches. It was just awful. And I do think they will bounce back this Saturday, and I think James Blackman should be the starter. I just don't know what to predict with Willie Taggart and Kendall Browse. I don't know what kind of page they're on, if one likes the other, kind of how Walt Bell was with DeAndre Francois and Blackman last year. From what we've heard, there was kind of some arguing going on there. So I don't know what to predict really, but in my opinion, I would think that Florida State and Willie Taggart and Browse should go with James Blackman and stretch the field and gives some more room for Cam Akers to run. So
it wouldn't surprise me to see either one of them walk out there on Saturday.
No, not at all.
No, just the rotating thing has got to stop. That's so confusing for this offense. I mean, we were concerned about it when we started hearing about it. What was it? What game was it? NC State game?
Yes.
About the rotating, yeah. And I was like, I don't know about that. It's just not a good idea. And obviously it just kind of just went kaboom against Clemson, as it probably should have been. So yeah, Florida State's got to stick with one quarterback moving forward, like you guys talked about earlier. All right, so let's jump into the Wake Forest preview. Right now, Florida State is going to travel to Wake Forest. They're going to play at 7:30 on the good old ACC network. That should be exhilarating. Gotta love it.
Wait, are you serious?
I'm showing it right here on. Yeah, I believe that's ACC network. Am I wrong? Austin and Fisher. I don't think I am.
I'm just sad. I got Comcast.
Pretty sure it's ACC network.
You better find you a YouTube trial. So this is another pretty interesting game to me. Wake Forest is 5-1. Florida State's heading this 3-3. Wake Forest most recently lost to Louisville in a high-scoring game that just was never going to end, but they lost finally. The first loss of the season, Wake Forest lost under Clawson. Their starting quarterback is actually dealing with an injury right now. He's questionable. Jamie Newman is it's unclear right now if he'll be available to play against Florida State on Saturday. But we talked about it before the podcast, and I talked about it with you, Dustin. Sam Hartman came to Florida State last year and was the starting quarterback. Or was he starting the whole entire game? I know he played against Florida State, but he's played against the Noles, and he's had some experience there playing against Barnett. So I say we just jump right into it. Can Florida State score enough to keep up with Wake Forest offense? Wake Forest is ranked 12th in the country in points per game, sitting about an average of 40. On the flip side, though, they allow opponents about 28 points a game. That's 76th in the country. So this should be a maybe another high-scoring game. It depends, I think, on how Florida State defense wants to show up. But can Florida State score enough to keep up with Wake Forest offense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, really, they just ran into a brick wall last weekend in Clemson. They're not going to play another defense that good until the final game of the regular season against Florida. So, going into this game, I really think this is the contest that we see Florida State's offense get back on track, especially if they go to one quarterback instead of two, like we talked about. On the flip side, Wake Forest is also going to put up a lot of points. So Wake Forest lost 61-58 last week. I could see a game getting around 80 total points or so on Saturday.
Yeah, Dustin, I think you're pretty spot on. I think this is going to be definitely a shootout. Logan, you kind of mentioned a few stats. Wake Forest is 4th in the nation in total offense at 540 yards a game. And then, like you said, they're 88th in total defense. So, clearly the offense is the strength of this team. Florida State is going to put up points, hopefully. Clemson was Clemson. Wake Forest is nothing like Clemson at all. Florida State should be able to rely on guys like Terry and DJ and Cam to just use their athleticism and make plays. I don't think you need to really you don't really have to throw together a brilliant game plan to put up points against Wake Forest, especially with the players that you have. So definitely expect a high-scoring shootout. And it's really going to come down to, can Florida State get stops? Can Florida State defense get off the field and maybe force a couple turnovers while they're at it?
Yeah, we've seen the offense do well against lesser defenses, and NC State and Louisville, I'd expect probably 90, 95 total points, honestly.
Ooh, big numbers. Fun. Makes it more exciting on the ACC network, Dustin's favorite provider.
Love them.
All right. This is a pretty interesting one. And I think there might be like an obvious answer here. I don't know. You guys might have different opinions. So, we know Helton's done for the year, leg injury, plays a vital role on the field, was a big target for Blackman and also Hornibrook, but he has, I think he still has a high ceiling, but best of luck with him with that injury, man. Looked tough, just a bad luck scenario. But now looking to it, who steps in for Helton's spot? Who do you think is going to be that guy that gives some production for Florida State, and whichever quarterback is taking snap on Saturday moving forward?
Yeah, first off, I just want to say I'm absolutely sick for Keyshawn Helton. Really have enjoyed watching him over his first 2 seasons in Seminole, and he was the lowest rated player in the first class that Taggart brought into Florida State, and he's really epitomized what you can do when you just grind and work hard. And look at him now. Even though he's out for the rest of the season, next season he'll be right there in the mix to be a starter at wide receiver again. But going forward, obviously this changes Florida State's passing game a little bit. I really do think we're going to see a guy like Ontario Wilson step up in the slot. So far this season, he's had 16 catches for 189 yards and a touchdown. Former high school teammate of Tamorion Terry. It'd be really exciting to watch the two blossom alongside each other.
Yeah, man. Keyshawn Helton is just the kind of player that Florida State desperately needed. from his work ethic to the leadership that he brings, to even his play on the field. You know, he's a great player in addition to what he brings as a leader. Losing him is a tough pill to swallow, especially after losing a guy like Jaden Lars would be. Two guys who really embody what this program needs. So, you know, want to get that out of the way. Just sickening for those guys. But, you know, if we know anything about them, we know that they're going to come back and work their tail off to get back next season. As far as replacing his production goes, Keyshawn Helton was your second most productive receiver this year, where it stands right now, right behind Tamorrion Terry. 17 receptions, 239 yards. And so in my mind, the guys that you're going to be looking at to really step up and replace his production are DJ Matthews, I think is the biggest candidate to kind of shine. And Helton has not been too terribly, not a lot more productive than DJ, but DJ is one of those guys that I think people have expected more from, and at times hasn't always shined, and a lot of times it's not really his fault. But DJ is a guy that you really hope can come on in the last, you know, this 6-game stretch and really be productive. And alongside of DJ is Trayshawn Harrison, a guy who in the same fashion people have really high expectations and hopes for. So if you can get those two guys going, you know, replacing that production, I don't think is a huge issue. But what Helton brings, just his mentality, it's a massive loss, and I don't think that you can replace that.
Yeah, seeing him walk into practice today with that brace on his leg was sickening, but also really neat to see that the culture is changing. Speed recovery to him. Obviously, Trayshawn Harrison was going to be the name I threw out, so good to see him get some mention. I think he's the next guy up.
I'm going to go to the last one on here. Well, yeah, I mean, before we get to our score predictions, but y'all give me y'all's 3 keys for how Florida State, how they can win this game. What are y'all's 3 major keys for getting Florida State to beat Wake Forest, which is still considered an upset? Florida State is still the underdog heading to Wake Forest. I mean, 2019, this is what's happening, but Florida State is an underdog to Wake Forest. Y'all give me y'all's 3 keys for Florida State taking down the Demon Deacons on Saturday night.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. First off, I really think Florida State needs to get its running game back on track against Wake Forest. Florida State finished with 23 carries for 103 yards and a score against Clemson. I don't know how they ended up with those numbers. I guess LeBourne's long touchdown at the end really kind of overinflated what actually happened on the field. But Cam Akers finished with just 9 carries for 34 yards in the last game. Florida State's going to need him to get up into triple digits against Wake Forest, maybe even, you know, double dip on the ground, get two touchdowns or more. Defensively, it's going to come down to stopping the pass. Wake Forest loves to throw the ball. They average over 300 passing yards a game, and Trevor Lawrence, he really picked Florida State apart in his spare time on the field.
I just knew he was going to have his best game of the year. I felt it coming.
He honestly did, outside of one interception, which Hamza Nasruddin made a great play on. So Florida State's defense going to need to get back on track defending the pass. That defensive backfield has really been worked for most of the season. And then finally, turnovers. Florida State got dominated in the turnover fest against Clemson. Obviously, you have those 3 picks. I believe there was a lost fumble sprinkled in there as well, and Clemson only turned the ball over, twice? I want to say twice. So I believe it was 4-2 in turnover ratio, and Florida State can't do that against Wake Forest because, like we talked about, Demon Deacons have an offense that is going to put the ball in the end zone. They're going to put points up on the board, and when you turn the ball over, you're just going to let yourself get more and more down, especially if their offense is clicking like it was against Louisville.
I would say the keys in my mind are Wake Forest is 5th in the country in 3rd down conversion percentage. That is a number of .53. And so the key there is getting off the field on third down. Wake Forest can certainly move the ball at a very high rate. They are capable at pretty much every level. They have a couple of capable receivers and a stable of backs. And so Florida State really is going to have to get off the field on third down. They're going to have to put Wake Forest in third and long. And so, it's pretty obvious you always got to get off the field on third down, but it's not something Florida State's been great at this year. And so Florida State's kind of opportunity here to show, that they've taken a big step forward as a defense. And so look for that. And the other, kind of like Dustin said, is establishing the ground game. When Cam Akers is rolling, this offense goes with him. So getting him going again and hopefully having a big day for Cam. And you should see the Noles pull out the victory in my mind.
Well, two of my keys are the exact same. That was just getting off the field on third down. That's going to be huge. And we've struggled with it all season. And again, establishing the run, it helps whoever plays quarterback this week. It helps them out so much getting in a rhythm. Mm-hmm. If we can get some 5-6 yard gains on first down, you're not worrying about what you're doing with the quarterback. My last key is bringing the nasty back. Last week against Clemson, they just looked soft. They just didn't match up physically. And yeah, it is Clemson, but you still want to see them at least play physical, play hard every single snap. Trying to bring that nasty back, that's going to be the thing I'm looking out for the most.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to add just one on here before we move to score prediction. I was just going to add, I think coaching too. I think Kendall Browse is also going to have to call a pretty smart game. I mean, I think he knows they're going to have to score quite a bit of points if the defense isn't going to step up and help. Browse and them are going to have to score. And I think by right now, I mean, we're heading into Wednesday. Florida State needs to go ahead and know who their quarterback is and continue with that. There shouldn't be much of any more competition going on or whatever it is they're going through. They need to stick with this quarterback and kind of get a game plan, a full game plan going, because offensively they're going to have to score a lot of points. And I'm looking at Kendall Browse for this game. He's got to kind of bounce back after what happened this last weekend, which I didn't like a lot of the play calling that was being made in the situations and kind of knowing what the quarterbacks weren't doing. It just didn't look like they were really prepared for that game. So we'll see how Kendall Browse runs this offense, and we'll see on Saturday night. So score prediction time. I don't know the numbers in here, but I think I've only had one loss. I think we all have one after the Boise State game, because we've predicted Florida State to win that one, but we were off. But we'll get one coming into next week. We'll make sure we get the numbers jotted down, because we've had a few guys sometimes not be able to be on the podcast. But I think I'm one of the higher percentages of being right.
Yeah, you're tied with me, buddy.
Just kidding. All right, so enough of me trying to get some praise, which didn't really work. Who wants to start off giving score? I think the rookie has to start off first. Our guest has to start off first with his score prediction. I know it's been you like that? It's been on this document for almost an hour now. So
yeah,
everybody's had some time to think. It always turns out to be where whoa, what just happened? Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. That's guys for you. That's guys in college. That's what happened to you. But yeah, go ahead and take your time, Austin. But go ahead and do it right now, though. We need your score prediction.
Well, I'll stick with my total points of around 90. I really think Wake Forest is going to pull it out, but I think it's going to be close. I'll say 48-42 Wake Forest.
Wow. This is going to be interesting, boys. 48-42. Who's the leading? Well, that's kind of hard with quarterback. You don't know a quarterback. But who's your leading scorer?
Let's go Kalen Laybourne. I think he's going to get a little bit more action this week. I know I'm going to be totally wrong, but bold
prediction. Okay, bold prediction. We didn't talk about that though, but Kalen Laybourne was your leading rusher on Saturday. and he scored his first collegiate touchdown. Happy for him. Still, I think Cam Akers is a guy moving forward, but shoot, whenever Kalen gets the chance to be in there, he does usually put full effort into it. That's for sure. All right, Fisher, you want to give it to us? We're working the back order here.
Absolutely. Saving the worst for last. I get it. Florida State opened as a 2.5-point underdog to Wake Forest. I think that's spot on. I see.
Yeah, here we go.
I wanna say that Wake Forest is gonna win, but I'm picking Florida State to win. I think I'm gonna regret saying this. I just know that I'm going to be wrong about it because I'm wrong about it. But I think it's the part of me that just wants it to happen so bad.
Oh my gosh!
I think Florida State is going to respond well. I think that based off of what we've heard so far, Sunday practice was a really productive practice. Just as far as not this game, the Clemson game, affect the rest of the season. Hearing talk of Marvin Wilson making guys run sprints at practice for pouting, and this is a game where Florida State. This is a week where Florida State could easily fold, and get extremely discouraged. But I don't think that the leaders on this team are going to let that happen. I think Marvin Wilson demands respect, and he's earned respect. And I think guys are going to play for Helton. They're going to play for Woodby, and I know that Blackman is certainly frustrated as well. So I have enough faith in those guys and leaders and what they bring to the table. So I think Florida State's going to have a good week of practice and bounce back. And I think really, what they got to do is just put the ball in the hands of Terry and in the hands of Cam, and they should be able to pull it out. So I got Florida State winning 42-38 in a contested offensive game. I'm going to be wrong, though. It's going to be wrong.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Dustin just going to kind of leave.
So, I got a stat for you guys.
Oh, here we go.
I don't know if it's a
all right,
correct
Lee Corso.
stat,
Lee Corso. Are we on College Game Day?
2 numbers. I know that. This is actually something I picked up off a podcast I was listening to over the weekend. But back-to-back, Power 5 conference teams on a back-to-back road game are 1-9. The only team that's won a back-to-back road game is a team that had lost the week prior. So with that said, Florida State lost last week to Clemson. I think they pull off a 1-1 back-to-back roadie, beat Wake Forest this weekend. I'm going to go 45-41. It's going to be a really high-scoring game regardless of who quarterbacks Wake Forest. And I want to say who quarterbacks Florida State. Either way, both defenses in this game aren't going to be able to hold up against the offensive firepower they're facing. Obviously, we know a lot about Florida State's playmakers, but Wake Forest has some guys too. Star wide receiver Sage Surratt. This season, he already has 711 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. Receiver directly behind him, Scottie Washington, has 498 yards and 7 touchdowns. The 16 total touchdown catches between them are more than Florida State's entire roster. So this is a team that loves to throw the ball deep, loves to go to these two down the field, and a lot of the times they reward their quarterback with a big play. And then you also have the Wake Forest running game, which is already over 1,200 yards on the season and 11 scores on its own. And, we've kind of talked about that weird mesh point that Wake Forest has in their read option. So that'll be an interesting flavor that Florida State's going to need to have something to respond against this weekend. But it's going to be a really high-scoring game. I think Florida State bounces back after their worst game of the season against Clemson. They respond the right way.
Well, perfect, guys. Thank you guys for your prediction. That's going to pretty much do it. I don't think I'm going to give much. This one for me is pretty interesting. I don't want to have 2 losses on my record book.
That's why it was tough for me to pick Florida State.
Yeah, no, this one's tough. My gut is telling me Wake Forest, man. It's telling me that. The one thing that I think is a big favor for Florida State is that their starting quarterback is pretty questionable right now. A shoulder injury is no joke, definitely for a quarterback. Uses his arm. But the thing is, I'm not too don't feel too much better with that because Sam Hartman is a decent cat too, in my opinion. He's not amazing. He's not terrible, but he's a decent quarterback for Wake Forest.
He complains that we weren't ready, and then listen to this man.
Yeah, we've all said ours, and now he's sitting there.
Dancing around.
The hypocrisy is wild.
Yeah, it is unreal. Well, I don't know because if I go Wake, then it's 2-2. You know, two guys got Florida State. Do I leave the rookie by himself and pick Florida State, and he's by there, and then he wins it? You know, I'm thinking about us as a podcast as a whole, Dustin and Fisher. We can't have the rookie that come out of this with a dub.
Oh man, I love it. I'd get more views on my articles. Let's do it. Go with Florida State.
People would actually start believing your articles. They'd think you're a wizard. I'm gonna go. I do think the promising thing, though, Florida State on their side of things is because of Marvin Wilson and leadership coming up. Like they said, they didn't quit. Still, I mean, they still get annihilated by Clemson. They didn't quit. It still fathoms me. But Marvin Wilson, they had a practice on Sunday, and he said that, you know, keep running extra reps. And he was kind of getting tired of players pouting. And I think guys like Corey Durden and Marvin Wilson are huge for leadership, definitely defensively. But, you know, I think got to have some leadership from Blackman coming through. I'm going to go, I do think Florida State should win this game. They got to keep
changing my pick.
No. I think Florida State should win this game. And they got to keep one quarterback out there. If it's two quarterbacks, they will not win this game. So I'm going to go Florida State. Not that high scoring for me. I'm going to go Florida State 34, Wake Forest 28. It's still going to be a close game points wise, but I don't think it will be that high scoring as the other guys think.
I'd like to switch my pick. I've had a change of heart.
No, you have not.
Sam Hartman, career game coming up. 48-45 Wake Forest. Put that down.
Oh, so Dustin just flipped his. He's picking Wake Forest.
You almost went the same score I did.
One of us is coming. Oh, did I?
I said 48-42. It was close.
Okay.
52-45 Wake Forest.
Perfect.
Wow. Okay, so Dustin and
one of us will have 2 losses after this week. I guarantee it.
I already
One
did,
of us
so I'm
will.
probably going on 3.
Well, all right. Both leaders from here to Spear. Who's going to win this one? All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for the podcast. This was full of everything basketball-wise, Clemson, quarterback talk, Wake Forest, Monday Mailbag, everything. So if you stuck with us, thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Hear the Spear. You can also listen to this podcast about anywhere, but in particular, you can listen to it on Spotify, SoundCloud, GooglePlay, and YouTube. And I know there's some other ones, but you can find it anywhere. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're on iTunes, make sure you also subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It helps us grow on YouTube. If you're enjoying it, we've been enjoying the feedback you've been giving us. It's been growing very quickly, and it's very nice to see you guys engaging, and we really enjoy doing this at midnight now. Good thing I have classes. Most of us have classes tomorrow. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you guys in our instant reaction to Wake Forest in the coming days this weekend.
Same color t-shirt. Mama told me not to sell word.